So I got a new box from Big Bad Toy Store today with actually a whole bunch of figures. Olive oil, castor oil, who's right there, Popeye, and Bluto. These are all by Boss Fight Studios, and I kind of went all in on these. So you could see I've got a whole bunch. This is actually wave one, and then there is a wave two. And here's kind of wave two. Wave two has Popeye in his white sailor suit, Wimpy, Sea Hag and Vulture, Poop Deck Pappy, and then this one's sold out. I didn't order this one. It's Popeye and Bluto fighting. So I'm a huge Popeye fan, and I have all of the stories by L.Z. Segar from the 1920s and 30s. I can't remember when Popeye was first created. But I'm a massive fan. I also love the original Fleischer cartoons. Over time, I think that the cartoons definitely diminished in quality. By the time I was born, they were pretty awful. So they were still making them when I was a kid, but I don't think they've made them in many decades. I don't know when the last time. They keep trying to kind of make an animated movie, but nothing's coming out. I know that for kids these days, the recognition of Popeye is much diminished. I think most people know of Popeye, even young folks, but the in the collective consciousness, it's really diminished quite a bit. So we have here castor oil, and castor oil. This is one thing I really like about this lineup is that castor oil is actually a pretty obscure character, but they made a figure of him, which is pretty cool. And we have Bernice the Wiffle Hen, which was, I believe, a magical hen that you could rub its head and you could do magic. And then we have the Jeep, which is another magical figure. So Boss Fight Studios, a lot of times when companies will produce Popeye figures, it's generally Popeye, Olive, and Bluto, and that's it. But they're going all in on this, and I don't see any wave three, so I don't know if they're going to produce more. Each one of these figures is about $35 for all you get here, and then each one of these. This one actually was about $40. This is a Big Bad Toy Store exclusive, which was the black and white figure. There is a colored figure, which I did not end up getting. I opted for this one, but I am getting all of the other Wave 2 figures, which includes Popeye in the white sailor suit. So it definitely doesn't feel like a cheap figure. I will say that. It's got a nice weight to it. The box was sitting out in the cold for a bit, so these joints were really stiff, and they're still kind of stiff. $35 is not cheap, but it's not super expensive, so we get some little paint defects maybe. He stands fairly well, but it's a little awkward. He's got, the castor oil was always a rather short character. To those who don't know who Castor Oil was, he was actually part of the Thimble Theater, which was before Popeye came along. So that was the oil family, Nana Oil and Olive Oil and Castor Oil. And then for a while there, Castor Oil was a friend to Popeye, and then eventually he just kind of faded away. He does have a decently prominent role in the Popeye film with Robin Williams from the 1970s. So he is in there. A film that I think is massively underrated, and someday I'll talk more about that. So the hats, he's got 3 different hats. He's got a gray one, a blue one, and there's a straw hat. It's got a little bit of black on it that doesn't come off. So the hats, I was really happy to see, held on by magnets. So there you go. A little bit, not the strongest magnet in the world, but they do hold on. It's a little interesting that it kind of, so it depends on how you can't just put it on any way. You have to put it on correctly, which is this way. I like the fact that the suit coat here is a separate, you can see it's a little bit separate. There you go. Let's see, what does it say there? Can I read it? King Feature Syndicate from Hearst. That's who originally made the cartoon. 2021. Okay, copyright. I don't love the material they used for the skin, for the head. I don't know, it has a little bit of a cheapness to it. So I wish they had used something else. I think on this camera here, it doesn't look that bad, but in person, I'm not in love with it. The joints are a little bit awkward, but they are serviceable. I like the fact that we get not only castor oil, but some more. Most people have never heard of Bernice the Wiffle Hen from the original comic strip by L.Z. Segar. Jeep is a little more well known. Jeep made it into the cartoons. I don't know that the Wiffle Hen ever was in the cartoons, but the Jeep was definitely in there. Jeep has a fairly limited articulation, has some neck pivot, rotation, and the arm move. But that's about it. Bernice, I don't believe has any movement. It looks like a little bit of separation here, but it doesn't. They must have been just two pieces that were affixed together because it really doesn't do anything. But I was pretty excited. I bought these a while ago, and so they've been on pre-order for a while. And it's really cool to finally get them. I'm going to go through each one. The box is nice. I like it. It's got a little description or a little discussion of castor oil, spoken as if it were Popeye. And then we have the various items that come with it, and showing here all of the other figures, not including the BBTS exclusive. So I don't know if this one's gonna go up in price, but I paid an extra $5 for this one because it is an exclusive. So I'm going to go through each one of these figures eventually. I actually contemplated not opening them. There are figures that sometimes I don't open. It's pretty rare, but there are a few. But I think I'd like to have these on my shelf because like I said, I'm a huge fan of Popeye. Maybe sometime I'll go through the books. But if you've never read, if you're aware of Popeye but never read the original comics, I strongly recommend the original L.Z. Segar comics and the Fleischer cartoons, particularly the original black and white cartoons, where they were doing some pretty amazing things with animation, including they had some cartoons where they were actually making a physical 3D environments, like actual physical environments that the cartoons would kind of walk through, and it's really impressive what they did. It's all black and white, but I'm a little embarrassed to say that when I was a kid, I didn't really like the Fleischer cartoons because they were black and white. But when you look at them and you see the work that went into them, they are super impressive. But so far, I'm not disappointed in the figures. I didn't expect a ton from a $35 figure. I'm used to paying more for figures, but I think it's perfectly fine for what it is. I think I got my money's worth with these figures. They are certainly not cheaply made. Like I said, I'm not in love with the plastic for the the skin, but we'll see how the other figures. I don't know. Olive oil, for some reason, she literally has kind of an olive skin. I'm not sure why. And she's got a separate head, so that will be interesting. So anyway, that's Boss Fight Studios, Popeye. This is Castor Oil.